Figure TV. I got some late breaking news the revolutionaries can use. We got a World War III alert. World War III alert. Nuclear nations are at war right now. India attacks Pakistan. Pakistan vows immediate, swift punishment. Before we get into that, be sure to wipe your feet. That means hit the like button. You in the house of revolution. Like, share, subscribe, support the platform, y'all. Well, revolution is a way of life, and revolution is for breakfast, it's for lunch, it's for dinner. I got some late night revolutionary dinner for y'all. I'm at my news desk. Is this the beginning of nuclear war? Let's get right into it.
Hello and welcome to TRT World, live from Istanbul. We begin with breaking news. India's government says it has carried out strikes on 9 different sites in Pakistan. Pakistan has responded to India's attacks and claimed it shot down 5 Indian jets and captured several soldiers. Multiple explosions were reported in Muzaffarabad, the capital of Pakistan-administered Kashmir. The area experienced a blackout following the blasts. Indian missiles also struck Bahawalpur and Muridke cities of Punjab province. At least 8 people have been killed and 33 others injured. Pakistan has also closed its airspace for 48 hours following the strikes. Tensions between the two countries have escalated after an attack in Indian-administered Kashmir led to the deaths of 26 tourists in April. For the latest, let's bring in TRT World's Kamran Yusuf. He joins me live from the Pakistani capital, Islamabad. Kamran, so the number of Indian jets shot by Pakistan have increased to 5.
Yes, as the sun rises in Pakistan as well as in India, more details are emerging, and now Pakistan's Defense Minister Khwaja Asif is saying that Pakistan has shot down 5 Indian fighter jets and a couple of also drones. And he also claimed that Pakistan made several Indian soldiers prisoners of war, claiming that several Indian soldiers are currently in Pakistan's custody. Of course, that we cannot independently verify all these claims at this point in time, but certainly this is a huge claim from Pakistan that they have shot down 5 Indian fighter jets. And this was in response to earlier strikes carried out by India. They targeted 6 different locations, 3 in the Pakistani-administered.
Pakistan is saying they shot down some of India's warplanes. India gonna say they shot down some Pakistani warplanes, which was bought from China. So until we see the evidence, some of this could be propaganda about who actually shot down whose planes and how many it was.
Kashmir and 3 others in the main cities of Pakistan. India said that they targeted what they claimed people who were involved in the recent Pahalgam incident, but Pakistan said that this was not true. The country's, the Pakistan Army spokesperson a while ago addressed a news conference and said that in those Indian missile strikes, at least 8 civilians were killed, including 3-year-old children and 2 women, and 33 others are injured. And Pakistan says that they will bring out all the evidence proving that in those attacks, only civilians were killed.
And also Pakistan says that 8 people were killed and 33 injured, Kamran. And as I understand, these casualties are civilian casualties.
Indeed, as I mentioned that Pakistan military spokesperson said that 8 civilians were killed, including 3-year-old children and 2 women in this attack. And we also saw some of the images run by the local media showing teenage girls were being taken to hospitals in Bahawalpur, to an extent corroborating Pakistan's stance that in those attacks, civilians were killed. As I said, that now people are waking up this morning to this developing story, and Pakistan is saying that they will bring out more evidence to support their claims that in all these attacks, only civilians were killed.
That's Kamran Yusuf, live for us from Islamabad. Kamran, thank you very much indeed. And now let's cross over to the Indian capital and bring in TRT World's Ismita Sharma. Ismita, good to see you. What's the feeling in India right now?
India is only just waking up. You know, there are, of course, people some politicians, journalists who have stayed awake through the night because as developments took place, everybody was chatting about it on social media. But large sections will get to know of it as they wake up. It's just 5:30 local time here. But what we do understand is in the next few hours, we will see a lot more briefings happen. Of course, the Indian Foreign Ministry has been awake, sending us, readouts, official statements, also saying what it is doing in terms of talking to global leaders, whether it's United States or Russia or in West Asia, including Saudi and UAE. We are also including the army to do a detailed press conference in a few hours from now, where we are just waiting to hear on the confirmed timing, but we understand that it's in a couple of hours from now, where they will break down as to what exactly has happened, following up on what has been named as Operation Sindoor.
And Smita, when you speak to locals within India and officials, do you get a sense that this retaliation or tit for tat between the two countries is going to continue, or is there an indication of any sort that this ends now?
Look, right now, following these strikes immediately, I mean, of course, we have not been able to speak to too many people because most of them have been asleep, not woken up really. But the expectation was that there would be some sort of a military hitting out from New Delhi. There was a lot of public pressure. People wanted the Modi government, which in the past, during its last 10 years of government, has, of course, acted, whether it's the surgical strikes of 2016 or the Balakot airstrikes of 2019. And this time around, the Pakistani, in fact, readouts themselves, the government, the prime minister themselves confirming that these 9 target sites that India, sites that India says has targeted for its terror infrastructure, that some of them also happen to be in the heart of Punjab, whether it's Bahawalpur, of course, we are also looking at places like Muridke and Koti within Pakistan. So as far as the Indian government is concerned, I think they understood that the public wanted to see a demonstrable sort of a reaction, a retaliation to those brutal killings in Pahalgam. India was bracing up for military mock war drills, which are scheduled for today at different slots. We are also learning, in fact, that northern Indian airports, several of the key sectors in northern India, whether it's Amritsar or whether it's Jammu, Srinagar, some of the airports, Leh, Dharamshala, which are actually closer to the bordering regions with Pakistan, they have been shut down until further notice. And a lot of the domestic carriers have also cancelled off their flights to these destinations and some more, including cities like Chandigarh, at least for the next few days. So which means that, while the government, I believe, would want this to remain a limited strike, in these kind of fluid situations, one just doesn't know which side the wind could blow. And, even as global leaders try and dial down the tensions, and we heard Donald Trump there saying that he hopes that this ends quickly. But there are other players too in the region who are obviously trying to send out a message and try and see if there could be restraint from both sides at this point in time.
That's Smita Sharma live for us from New Delhi. Smita, thank you very much indeed. U.S. President Donald Trump says he hopes the hostilities between the two
Neville, let's return to him in New Delhi. You have some more breaking news for us.
Well, we've just heard from AP News Services that the Pakistan has said that they have shot down 2 Indian jets. Now, we don't know, we cannot confirm this at the moment, but it won't be, like 2019 when Indian fighter jets had entered the airspace of Pakistan into in sort of a dogfight which took place, and one of the jets was shot down. The Indian pilot was captured, to a lot of embarrassment to the Indian government, because he was obviously made a showcase by Pakistan. They paraded him. They brought out pictures, a video of him, a sort of interrogation of him. And after quite a few days, after lots of negotiations between the two sides, he was returned. And that return was also broadcast across Pakistan and across this region to show of what had happened. Now, we don't know of these recent, this two planes being shot down, because it's coming from the Ministry of Defense from Pakistan. Let's wait and see what actually happened, what has happened. That at the moment there hasn't been any statement from the Indian side, and I presume they won't speak about it if this is true for some time. But nevertheless, it is not impossible that there would be incursions into Pakistani airspace by Indians, because it's happened in the past, in the 2019 attack on Balakot. Now, we have seen just this evening there was the Indian Air Force had put out a statement that they are conducting war games in Rajasthan, in the state of Rajasthan, which borders Pakistan further south of Kashmir. And these war games were to begin later tomorrow at about 9 o'clock at night, which will go on till Friday, early morning at 3 o'clock on Friday. Now, these were what the Indian Air Force has said, that these were just drills being conducted along the international border in Rajasthan, quite far away from where where these recent attacks have taken place in Kashmir. But nevertheless, there has been a lot of tensions between the two countries, and we are seeing it play out now in various shapes and forms. Tomorrow, that's Wednesday, almost half of the country's districts were going to go through a sort of a mock drill of which happened 54 years ago for the first time in 1971, where mock drills were conducted when India and Pakistan went to war in 1971. Since then, that's taken 54 years since then. The administration out here is going to conduct these mock drills with people in cities, in markets, in schools, at installations, at large infrastructure projects, power stations, etc. Mock drills will be taking place later at about 1600 hours tomorrow.
India says it has carried out precision strikes on militant sites inside Pakistan and Pakistani-administered Kashmir, claiming to have killed what it calls a number of terrorists. Islamabad says 3 people were killed in the strikes, which it claims hit civilian targets. Pakistan says its response to India's strikes is underway. Tensions are soaring between the two countries over last month's deadly attack on tourists in the Indian part of the disputed territory of Kashmir. DW's Binish Javed is from Pakistan and reports on the region from Berlin. Sandra Petersman heads up our bureau in Delhi. Sandra, starting with you, 2 weeks on since those tourist attacks, which Delhi blamed on Islamabad, it denied the accusations. Now India launches these strikes. Bring us up to date.
Well, the Ministry of Defense put out a press statement at 1:44 local time here, so it was in the cover of night. And basically the statement said a little while ago, the Indian Armed Forces launched Operation Sindoor. I'm citing now, hitting terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan-administered Kashmir and deep inside Pakistan as well. Altogether, the statement claims 9 sites were hit, according to the Indian Defense Ministry, all terrorist infrastructure. But of course, that needs to be verified. It's still very early stages, so we also must be very, very careful in what we put out at this stage as the story is developing and news is still emerging. We have learned through sources that India's Navy, Army and Air Force were involved in this military action. It's the first time, according to Indian media here, that a strike like this, a tri-service strike, has been carried out. And they have coined it here the largest non-war strike against Pakistan in Indian history. And media here are emphasizing that missiles were apparently used by all 3 forces of the Indian army. And the defense minister here, Rajnath Singh, has put out on X, formerly known as Twitter, just a few words in Hindi, which translate to "Long live India." And if we look back at the messaging of the Indian government right after the ghastly attack on April 22nd, the messaging was clear throughout that there would be a revenge. And what we see now is the kind of revenge that India's government has promised to the public here.
Beenish, what are we hearing from Pakistani officials?
Ben, as Sandra has said, it's a rapidly evolving situation. We have been getting statements from Pakistani officials. The latest that we have is that Pakistani military has said that India has fired missiles across the border in Pakistan in 5 locations, 5 sites. Mr. Ahmad Sharif, in an interview, he's the spokesperson of Pakistani military, and just a few minutes ago, he gave an interview to BBC, and he said that 3 sites were attacked across line of control in Pakistan's administered Kashmir, and 2 sites have been, India has attacked 2 sites in Pakistan's Punjab province, two sites in Muridke and Bahawalpur. And what he claims Pakistani military is saying is most of these sites were mosques or civilian targets. Pakistani Defense Minister Mr. Khwaja Asif has spoken to news agency AFP, in which he has told this agency that at least 3 civilians, including a child, have been killed. But Ben, we have to, as Sandra has said, we have to be very, very careful. These statements are coming from Pakistani officials, and we cannot independently verify these statements. Pakistan has also called Indian attack an unprovoked attack, an attack on Pakistan's sovereignty. We know that India had linked the Pahalgam attack on 22nd in Indian administered Kashmir to Pakistan. Pakistan had denied that allegation.
So, Beenish, what about the response from Pakistan?
So, what we are hearing is that a retaliatory response from Pakistan is ongoing. Pakistani Prime Minister has said that a robust response is being given to India. I'm quoting him. He has also called Indian attack, I'm quoting him, cowardly attack. And he has also said that Pakistan has every right to give robust response to act of war from India. But we know that after April 22nd Pahalgam attack, when India linked the attack to Pakistan, there were these fears that India may carry out some strikes or some sort of military action in Pakistan. What we are hearing is that this seems to be we were not expecting, or officials in Pakistan were not expecting, or analysts were not expecting that this would be, this is considered a big attack from the Indian side, and Pakistan has vowed to respond, and Pakistani Prime Minister has said that this attack, as of now, is ongoing.
Sandra, how does the Indian government justify the strikes?
Well, they have been linking the attack in Pahalgam right from the start to cross-border terrorism in Pakistan. They have been accusing Pakistan over decades of sponsoring, of facilitating cross-border terrorism, of harboring terrorists on its soil that would then conduct strikes against India on Indian soil. And right from the start, I may go back to the messaging, it has been directed at Pakistan Pakistan, that military action was on the table right from the start, has been communicated very clear. And if I may go back here to the statement put out by the Indian Ministry of Defense, the Indian side, of course, is claiming, adding to what Binish has said from the Pakistani side, I am quoting here now, our actions have been focused, measured, and non-escalatory in nature. No Pakistani military facilities have been targeted. India has demonstrated considerable restraint in selection of targets and method of execution. Of course, the story is still emerging. It's still very early on. What was hit? What wasn't hit? If there are any civilian casualties, all of this will only emerge later at this stage. As Binish rightfully said, there are a lot of claims out there, especially on social media, claims that are hard, especially during the night now, to independently verify.
Sandra, do Indians want war with Pakistan?
I mean, there was a lot of rage, palpable rage in the population here. We actually went out yesterday to speak to young people in the street, just random, ordinary people going about their life, not experts or analysts. And all these young people were really saying this needs a befitting answer. The country should strike back. They were expecting from the Indian government to strike back. Quite a few of them said that obviously civilians should be spared. It was emphasized in the about 10 people that we spoke to longer that civilians should be spared. But all of them really across the board said that a response is needed so that people in Pakistan, and I'm quoting again here, would never dare anything like this again, as we have seen in the Pahalgam attack that killed 26 civilians. And if I may go more into detail there, most of them were shot at gunpoint. 25 of the
Europeans started this shit. They want this shit because I never really over the years really looked too deep into India and Pakistan. I know about the situations, but colonialism, the British. See, Pakistan is a fictitious place, and a lot of those other so-called nations surrounding India is fictitious. India, that's all India. And that's why if you, especially down here, you walk into some of these corner stores, if a Pakistani person don't tell you they from Pakistan, you won't know unless they got a dot on, unless they don't have that dot that they from India. Unless the Indian person got that dot, you won't know because they're the same people. They're the same people. And these people, and the reason they are nuclear armed is because that's what the Europeans want. Because the Europeans want them to kill each other, to wipe. The Europeans want them to nuke each other, kill billions of people. That's what they want. Just like they did in Africa, just like they did where making up fictitious places, drawing lines in the sand that's not drawing lines in countries that's not supposed to be there, and you start shit like this that will never stop.
The 26 victims were male Hindus.
Binish, where do you think it's going to go from here?
Ben, it's a very, very contentious, serious escalation.
You got the Hindu extreme racist radicals in power in India. We got to say that. Racist radical Hindu extremists. Then you got racist radical some Islamic extremists who run in Pakistan. So but it's on purpose. That's why a week ago the Pakistani defense minister said the lady on the news tried to corner him and say, well, isn't it known that y'all have been training terrorists for years? And he said, yes, we've been doing it for the U.S. and Britain. But they've been saying he admitted to training terrorists, but they're not. He said, yes, but we done it for the U.S. Everybody know we trained bin Laden for the U.S. to fight the Russians. Everybody know we trained ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and all kind of different terrorists with the Saudis. And we have madrasas, these schools, to help them get radicalized, to do the bidding of the West. That's a fact. So this is what the Europeans want.
Right now. And as Sandra has pointed out, the reaction in India, I would say that in Pakistan, of course, when Pakistani government said that, we will respond to any Indian attack, there was a lot of unity in Pakistan, and a lot of people in Pakistan are backing the Pakistani military and the Pakistani government. But I would say that Pakistanis, if you ask many Pakistanis, they would say that war is the last thing they want. Pakistan is still recovering from a very severe economic crisis. Young people are worried about their future. Pakistan is a water-scarce country. There are huge problems that Pakistan is facing. And in a country like Pakistan, where there's a lot of poverty, so many domestic problems of terrorism emanating that Pakistan says emanates from its western border in Afghanistan. There is an active insurgency in Balochistan. With all of these challenges, this is another front that has been opened for Pakistan, which is not a very good news for many Pakistanis.
And briefly, Sandra, UN Chief Antonio Guterres has called for maximum restraint, saying the world cannot afford military confrontation between India and Pakistan. Will leaders heed his warnings?
I think as of now, we have to look at these limited strikes. Very much will depend now on how Pakistan responds. We are awaiting here further information. We will be awaiting a press briefing, which is unfortunately many hours from now to learn more details.
See, Pakistan from the bomber because Pakistan already releasing the proof. You kill women, you kill kids. You know, you say you hit terrorist training camps. Oh, yeah, you're going to say you killed their wife and kids. But you see, when they let Israel do psychotic shit talking about they fighting terrorists, and never forget, India was backing Israel. And I never understood why until I started studying it, because they both have radical extreme governments. You see, that government in India is very extremist and racist. You know, they need to be overthrown and put somebody righteous in power. But they're not, and this is what so killing them women, kids. I'm paying attention. See, the Muslim world is gonna back Pakistan, and remember, Pakistan has the Muslim bomb. Only nuclear Muslim nation. Iran can be nuclear, but they're not declared a nuclear nation. It's Pakistan. So the Muslim world is gonna back Pakistan.
Assalamu alaikum, guys, and welcome to another episode of Smile to Jannah. Let's start off with the obvious. Hopefully, if you're following me on socials, you will know that an entire country, yes, the biggest democracy on earth, India, has banned my little old channel. Now, I am amongst the few that have spoken out against Kashmir and the Indian atrocities that have been taking place over there. And apparently, me sitting over here in the UK, speaking to you wonderful people, is enough to be considered a threat to their own people, that they have forced YouTube to block my channel there. I don't know if it's permanent or I don't know if it's temporary. However, when I was speaking to a person that ironically is from Indian occupied Kashmir, he told me it's probably because of what India is planning. And literally, I kid you not, 10 minutes later, I found out that India had attacked Pakistan. Now, India claims that we have attacked 9 sites, all that are terrorist sites, and we haven't declared war on Pakistan. Yeah, by firing missiles over there. And let me tell you some of the information that it's going to seep through the Western media quite slowly, but I got it directly from the horse's mouth. That is the DGISPR in his Urdu address to the media. I'll give you what you guys need to hear. And that is, number 1, the fatalities at this moment in time is 8. Yeah, 8 people have been murdered in Pakistan, killed in Pakistan, including 2 women and 1 3-year-old girl and 1 16-year-old girl. There have been 35 injuries, including 7 women and 2 children. 3 mosques have been destroyed and 2 individuals are missing. Now, I've just saved you watching and going through like an hour's worth of footage straight away, but the mainstream Indian media is still going over the fact that, hey, we got them back. Yes, this is what we wanted. Well, they elected a butcher. They call him the butcher of Gujarat, the current.
See, I've been paying attention to the Indian media lately. I've been paying attention to this. So I know this is coming. I know I had to be ready when I brought it to y'all. I've been paying attention to the Indian media. And I listened to them. They absolutely said the Pakistani civilians have to pay. They said it. They say the Pakistani civilians have to pay for supporting. They got the same. See, those extreme Hindu extremists in India who in power had the same mentality as the Zionist extremists who in power in Gaza. They say those civilians have to pay for supporting the politicians in Pakistan. So that's why Pakistan gonna bomb, because they know when India say we blew up a bunch of terrorists and terrorist training camps in India, say, man, you killed some women, some kids, you might have killed a few guys with guns. You know exactly what you're doing. They're trying to terrorize Pakistan because they're saying Pakistan backed terrorists who killed their civilians. They didn't mean to kill no military. And then India came out and said we didn't hit any military sites. Yeah, you didn't mean to hit any. You're trying to terrorize the civilians.
Prime Minister of India, he was literally banned from the UK and the US. The guy was not allowed to enter. Why? Because of a pogrom that he held against the Muslims. It was only when he was elected that he was allowed to step foot back into these countries, because obviously you cannot alienate an entire subcontinent. So this operation of the Indians is called Operation Sindoor. It's a red mark that married women put on their head. It's probably referring to the Pahalgam attack, in which only men were killed, children and women were spared. The Indians blamed Pakistan for this. Pakistan had one simple response, which is, do you have any evidence? And the answer has been a resounding no. Pakistan said, get the UK involved, get other countries involved, have an independent inquiry as to the cause of that attack. You will see we are not involved. India has not followed through with that. And what they have chosen to do is attack another nuclear power. They are indeed a nuclear power. So is Pakistan. Pakistan has not been sitting idly by, and it has shot down 5 jets, according to Geo News.
And the West, they like this fight because China backs Pakistan and Russia backs India, because Russia has backed India for decades. It was even going to take the U.S. nuclear war behind India. You know, that's why India wouldn't all the way go against Russia in the Ukraine war. The U.S. was pissed. But they want this also because this causes a fracture in the Russia-China alliance, and it causes a little fracture in BRICS. You know, India is a BRICS member, and China is firmly behind Pakistan. A lot of their weapons they're using come from China.
Use one drone, and it has destroyed the Indian Brigade headquarters. Now, one thing which is very surprising, which hopefully the Indians are using VPN to watch this and get the other side of the story, because the Indian media is not telling you the children that have been killed. And as you guys can see on the screen, even BBC is reporting that at least 2 children have been killed. I don't know, many of you might be asleep. You might see this when you wake up, and in the description, I'll try to update the information as much as I can. Those extremist Hindus, as you can see over here, the Bhagavad Gita page, it's not a small page on X, because India has been seen to have this very ahimsa, you know, don't hurt even the locust or the ant. You know, it's all about peace. And you've got people that are saying that, yeah, our religion talks about peace, but also talks about killing. So, I mean, people that have studied Hinduism know about the Mahabharata, which is a book that's just about war. It's about war in which even God and an avatar of God comes and encourages war and says that it is righteous. Now, I'm not going to be somebody that is saying that Hinduism and Hindus, the average Hindu is responsible. Of course not. I try to make the distinction between Hindutva and or extremist Hindu nationalists and the regular Indian, the regular Hindu, because Indians can be Muslims, Christians, Hindus. So that is, of course, important even during this time. However, we are seeing
and the
people
racist Hindus that's in power, they don't like the black Indians. They are racist, bigoted. They won't be white. That's true. That's so goddamn true. See, that's a problem that the Indians, they never want to face that the fact that they are not the ancient, and this is true, Indians of the past. The Greeks said that there were 2 great black nations in the world. Ethiopia, and the other one was India. Everybody know that's true. India. They're not talking about these people who claiming that they know you're not a great black nation. You see what I'm saying? So this is all historical fact too.
Congratulate themselves on the basis of religion, saying Happy Diwali. Diwali is a Hindu celebration, as if this is a gift. The killing of a 3-year-old girl is a gift. The killing of a 16-year-old girl is a gift. I know you're thinking, where have we heard this before? And it is, of course, from their best friends, Bibi Netanyahu. Yes, they are very tight with India, and it is no surprise that they are following the same pattern as their buddies.
Yes.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
let's
let's leave.
Are imposters. See, that I'm tying that together. The reason that the Hindu extremists and the Zionist, so-called Israeli extremists, the reason they're buddies is because they both pulled the same genocidal murderous trick, pretending like they're civilizations that they absolutely had nothing to do with. Pretending that they are those people from the past. That's a motherfucking fact. Nobody gonna talk about that shit on TV. That both of those civilizations are actors and imposters pretending that they know anything. That they always talk about those books. Man, y'all are usurpers. All those cultures.
Leave it there. If there are any updates,
so
make sure you are following S and then the number 2, jnews.com, S2.
Claimed that they have targeted terrorist training camps at different places in Pakistan. But in fact, they are wrong. They have made wrong claims because the evidence is available. And this is the difference between the narrative of India and Pakistan. Indians have just issued a press release after their attacks and claimed that they targeted terrorists. But in Pakistan, at least at 5 different places, till now, the evidence is available and the civilian casualties are the evidence. They have targeted innocent civilian, unarmed women, children, and they have targeted mosques, and they have targeted civilian targets. So this is the difference between the claims made by India and the ground reality in Pakistan. That's why I think that Pakistan is responding in a different way. Pakistan is targeting their military installations, and they have targeted the civilians in Pakistan. So this is the difference of the narrative of India and Pakistan. As far as my personal experience is concerned, I don't see parallels between the current situation and some past situations, because if we compare this current situation in 2025 with the situation in 2019, when a tension was created between India and Pakistan after Pulwama attack, or in 2016 a tension was created between India and Pakistan after Uri attack, or there was a tension in 2008 after Mumbai attack. So the current situation is entirely different, because yes, in 2019 the Indians crossed the LOC. Their aircrafts targeted a civilian area in Balakot. I myself visited that area, and there were minor civilian casualties, very minor civilian casualties. They only killed a crow. But this time they have targeted not only a mosque, but they have also killed some innocent civilian women and children. So that's why the response from Pakistan is entirely different. And I think we are heading towards a full-fledged war. In 2019, there was no threat of a full-fledged war. Right now, I fear that we are heading towards a war situation. And that's why we cannot compare this situation with the past situations. I think that international community, international leaders, international institutions like United Nations, they must respond quickly to diffuse the situation. This is not only a military confrontation. We are actually heading towards a war which can ultimately turn into a nuclear war, because both India and Pakistan are nuclear powers. And that's why I think that US President Donald Trump and United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, they must act swiftly. They must talk to the Indian Prime Minister and the Pakistani Prime Minister, and they must try their level best to diffuse the situation. Otherwise, unfortunately, I have to say that we are heading towards a nuclear war.
Yeah, we're also told right now, Summer, that this news is spreading, and we need to go back to Shravan on that. That J-17 Chinese-made Thunder jet has been shot down by us. They apparently the J-17 was.
As of now, I don't know who shot who's jets down. India. They see these guys right here been bragging. We'll see that later, talking shit all week, promising murder and mayhem. That they got some. They up. They doing big numbers over there. But they saying they shot down Chinese-made fighter jet. Well, Pakistan saying they shot down several. I think 2 of them was French Rafale jets and other Indian jets. So all I know is both of them probably took some losses in
trying to enter our site, then it crashed. That's the information we have. We have one unauthenticated video as well, which we're not putting out yet. But obviously, we expect this news is going around that the J-17 fighter jet of the Pakistanis has crashed, and this has happened in Akhnur. We're told that there could be a Pakistani pilot who was in the JF-17 plane. We don't know what has happened to the pilot yet, but the news is spreading fast, Summer. What are your sources telling you?
The sources are saying that this is a PAF J-117, and it has been shot down by our air defense. And unfortunately, they're saying that the pilot happens to be no more because the ejection system failed. So these are the present.
So Shravan, this is information coming in. I want more of the breaking news plates. Please, news desk has to speak to me. They have to run the latest news, because my news desk, I'm speaking to them right now. Viewers, we've done a great job since morning. This is the time when people want the information of what happened overnight. We need to give it to them. Shravan, what are you hearing about the JF-17 jet, please?
Well, in fact, part of the remains have been recovered, but we're not very sure about the exact location right now, Anna, because we've just spoken to the 16 Corps to get the details of whether they are going to officially put out anything or not. We're expecting them to perhaps give us more clarity in a short while from now, but a little bit more details that we have picked up in terms of the operation itself. Remember, with the National Security Advisor and the special team, which had basically formed these very locations that were basically selected. And what we are being told, that this was not just about about Pahalgam. They're saying that this was about the terror attacks that have taken place earlier too. So they're avenging the terror attacks that have taken place in Jammu and Kashmir over the last 1 year. That is the reason why each of these 9 targets were meticulously selected by the National Security Advisor along with the special team. And the NTRO was actually called in for carrying out the surveillance.
Good morning to General Bakshi. General Bakshi.
A very good morning,
Good morning to you, sir. Yes, sir.
Bang on. We had said we would attack with missiles.
Yes.
And we would take out visible terror targets.
Yes, sir.
We would not be doing it in the jungle ki jungle mein more nacha
Oh, brilliant. Absolutely.
You know, and we are bang on. The Indian Army has retaliated with missile in Operation Sindoor.
Yes,
9 targets have been hit and smashed. The flames can be seen by all.
Yes, sir. I want to run some more
will
of
have
those
no
pictures.
excuse. Pakistan will have no excuse to count killed, crows, sparrows, pigeons.
And
they'll have to count the dead bodies of their
what kind of missiles
and Jaish-e-Mohammed minions.
What kind of, from your military information and knowledge, what kind of missiles do you think we have deployed while hitting these specific targets in Muzaffarabad, Bahawalpur, ladies and gentlemen, which comes in the Punjab province of Pakistan, and in Muridke? Ladies and gentlemen, I also want to say before I go across back to General Bakshi that just minutes before dropping the confirmation on the strikes, which came a little after 1:40 in the morning, the Indian Army posted a video on X captioned, quote, "Ready to strike, trained to win." And by the time they did that, our missiles were on their way. What kind of armory do you think we've used here, General Bakshi? What's your take?
My take is we have a regiment of the BrahMos, and the BrahMos supersonic missiles in all probability have been used. They are supersonic, they can't be intercepted, not by Pakistan, and they are very precise, very lethal.
Yeah, I have various sets of visuals. Can we run the non-packaged visuals which are coming in as raw footage as of this minute, ladies and gentlemen? Now the government is saying, see, we have hit. This is brilliant. This is typical Modi style. Do it, own up to it. Nothing covert. Nothing covert, Deepak Vora. All overt. Absolutely straight.
See, that guy there been talking all that shit. He still, that's what I'm saying. Let's go see. I bet you he's still right now live. Let's go get a live update from him.
some
पाकिस्तानी और इंडिया ने जंग शुरू कर दी है। अभी मेरे बहावलपुर सिटी के अंदर मौलाना मसूद अजहर साहब के जो है मदरसा है उसके ऊपर 4 मिसाइल दागे गए हैं। 4 मिसाइलों के साथ हमला किया गया है मौलाना मसूद अजहर साहब के मदरसे के ऊपर। हम अपनी अफवाज पाकिस्तान के साथ खड़े हैं। फौज पाकिस्तान के साथ खड़े हैं, लेकिन मेरा सवाल है कि हमारी एजेंसीज कहाँ सोई हुई थी, हमारी फौज पाकिस्तान कहाँ सोई हुई थी जब ये हमला हुआ। मुजफ्फराबाद की भी खबर आ रही है कि मुजफ्फराबाद वाली साइड पे भी ये अटैक हुआ है, लेकिन सबसे पहले मेरे बहावलपुर सिटी के अंदर अटैक हुआ है ब्लास्टिंग मिसाइल के साथ। उन्होंने हमला किया है मौलाना मसूद अजहर साहब के मदरसे के ऊपर। 4 मिसाइल मारे गए हैं। अभी ये कहना कबल वक्त है कि गोया कितनी सच्चाई है इस खबर के अंदर, किस साइड से ये मिसाइल आए हैं, ये अभी कंफर्म होना बाकी है, लेकिन ये कंफर्म न्यूज़ है कि उनके मदरसे के ऊपर 4 मिसाइल मारे।
All right, now obviously the day has started and the celebrations have begun across the country. A sigh of relief also to the families who suffered from that terror attack. Shawan is with us live, and Shawan, more information with you.
Well, Abhishek, I've now got the specific details of the targets. In fact, of the 9 targets, 2 were basically targeted by the Indian Air Force, Bahawalpur and Gulpur, because this happens to be the farthest location. That's almost 100 kilometers, and the other happens to be about 35 kilometers from the line of control. And that is the reason why the Indian Air Force basically carried out those precision targets. Scalp missiles were essentially used. Now, talking about the Indian Army, the breakup is like this. 7 locations that were targeted by the Army, which includes the Lashkar-e-Toiba camp in Muridke, the Lashkar-e-Toiba camp in Sawai, Jaish-e-Mohammed camp in Bilal, Lashkar-e-Toiba camp in Kotli, Barnala launchpad, Jaish camp in Sarjal, and Hejbul camp in Mehmuna. In fact, this was with the help of smart munitions that were basically used by the Indian Army. So that's the division here. You're looking at about a straight away 70% targets which were carried out by the Indian Army, and rest 30% of with the Indian Air Force. But clearly there is a specific target, a specific reason why these camps were actually chosen. And Abhishek, the reason why we were told, especially as far as Sawai is concerned, this was the same very place from where several of the attacks that were carried out in Jammu and Kashmir were basically planned. And that is the reason why this terror launch pad was basically selected. So this is not, as I've been repeating, this is not about only avenging the Pahalgam attack, but the other terrorist attacks that have taken place in Jammu and Kashmir.
Absolutely, and India has made a bold statement to the world, and I'm told Lieutenant General Arun Sani is joining us live, and he's former Army commander and, of course, a strategic thinker. Very good morning to you, General Sani. And your first comments, India has avenged the Pahalgam terror attack. Indian Army, Air Force carrying out a joint operation. Army for the first time using smart munitions, the kamikaze drones, and essentially handling majority of the targets that were hit last night.
Yeah, good morning to you. I think it's a great way to start today when we finally see retribution being done, justice being given to those who were impacted directly by the 26, the people who died. I think for the families, for all those who felt totally hurt by this kind of an act, heinous act that had happened, I think there's full justice for those ladies. And as I said, Operation Sindhu talks about it. The good part about it is that we have finally hit the nerve centers of the 2 major terrorist groups who have been creating havoc as far as the proxy war is concerned in India. We today have both the LET and the JEM camps being hit, and not really just their launch pads, but their as I say, the nerve center from where they conceptualized, where they had the people sitting. I think that's the way it should have happened. So I think we've been extremely selective in the targets that were done. And I think kudos to the armed forces and the people in chair today, the political leadership, for having taken this very bold decision.
it makes a statement to not just Pakistan but rest of the world, as External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar said that zero tolerance to terror is what the world should be talking about now. General Sani, you think Pakistanis are going to be in any position to respond in any manner? Although, of course, our forces are absolutely in a state of alert, and the Air Force is, in fact, carrying out huge exercise along our Rajasthan border.
So let me just put it like this. I think the selection of targets have been such that we've actually only hit the terror camps. So really speaking, we have made sure that they have no justification or moral justification to react. But as you said, armed forces and the nation is prepared that if there is some kind of a reaction from them, our forces are currently deployed both on the ground, air, and the naval flotillas are out. So I think we are prepared to take on anything that they want to do in case they decide to escalate. But I think the selection of the targets has been very, very appropriate. You have hit the nerve centers of the terrorist infrastructure that exists, supported by the deep state.
Yeah, that's a huge one. And you rightly mentioned that our naval deployments are there in full strength. Our flotillas, our aircraft carriers, they're in the Arabian Sea. So if need be, a blockade on Karachi and the Pakistani coast can be implemented, and we can make sure that there is no misadventure from the Pakistani side. And I believe that's why those those exercises by the IAF, big ones, already in place, which means that our forces at all levels are completely ready for any retaliatory misadventure by the Pakistani side. Niranjan joins me in the studios, and Shawan, I'm told, has more information. Shawan, over to you.
Well, in fact, more details coming in with regards to the ammunition. As I just pointed out, the scalp ammunition that was basically used by the Indian Air Force, artillery firing that has also been done by the Indian Army. This was immediately after the precision munition. So essentially what you're looking at is that after the strike was carried out, this is roughly around 1:44 in the morning. We're getting in more clarity right now as to the exact timing when the precision strikes actually began. And immediately thereafter, you've had the Indian Army also responding to the ceasefire violations that have taken place. But importantly,
okay, the briefing is starting. Briefing is starting. Let's cut to it live. Let's cut to it live. Okay, we are told that these are just test visuals, essentially checks going on as a preparation to the briefing that is slated to take place at 10 a.m. You see officials from various ministries, the Ministry of Defense, and some defense officials also, officers also. And then, of course, you have people from the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. I can see some. And this is essentially prep visuals. These are essentially prep visuals coming in. We also have Gopi live. Can we cut to Gopi and just check with her what's really happening? Gopi, if you're getting me, what are the preparations going on? We can see some in your backdrop. Who are these officers? Can you tell us?
Well, in fact, what in fact you can see here is this is the National Media Center's conference hall, and we are awaiting the most important press conference to begin, which will jointly be addressed by the Ministry of Defense as well as Ministry of External Affairs. What we are learning, what we are picking up from our sources is it.
Because I see something just that Pakistan has already given India a little taste of their own medicine. See, the Indian media, they hiding all this shit from their people. They don't want their people to know what's really going on. See, we not biased here. You know, if Pakistan slaps them back, then I got to report that here, man. So let's look at some of this footage. Pakistan not from let India just bomb and kill people. Not doing it. That's not going to happen. So this for Pakistan blowing some shit up in India. The media got to report this to their people, let them know, hey, y'all not safe. What the hell they thought Pakistan? They thought Pakistan wasn't gonna blow some shit up. You bombing their territory. First of all, Pakistan threatened the nuclear people. They need to be careful playing with the radical Pakistan. See, we got some radicals in power on both sides. You know, this can get real bad. Trump can't stop this.
I want to show you on a map not just of Pakistan, but also of Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir for a better appreciation of the wide range of targets that were acquired, not just Muzaffarabad and Kotli in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, but Sialkot, Bahawalpur and Muridke in Pakistan. We are also told Chakamru was targeted just across, and for these, each and every target was very carefully chosen. So take a look at that map in front of you. When you talk about Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, I want you to look at Muzaffarabad. Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, Muzaffarabad, we are told 2 targets in Muzaffarabad, 2 terror launch pads and training camps. Kotli, just come south of that in Gulpur and Bimbar. Now you've come on the other side in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, the area opposite Jammu where Gulpur and Bimbar were targeted. Come down even further, Sialkot was targeted. And now you come to the main strikes that took place at Muridke and at Bahawalpur. And like I told you, Chakamru was also targeted. Now, Muridke is very significant. Muridke is the headquarters of Lashkar-e-Taiba. Bahawalpur is the headquarters of Jaish-e-Mohammed. So very carefully chosen targets to send across a very clear message. And Indian Army in a statement said no Pakistani military installation was targeted. There is no escalation from the Indian side. A fortnight was given to Pakistan to act on terror, and only those terror camps, launch pads and headquarters have been targeted. We are told immediately after this, Pakistan retaliated with a massive artillery barrage along the line of control. Pakistan's opened fire in the Poonch, Rajouri, Mendar and Bimbargali sectors south of Pir Panjal. We are told there is some heightening of tensions even on the northern side of Pir Panjal. But I want to show you the images of the Markaz or the terror training camp that was targeted in Bahawalpur. Perhaps one of the most significant areas to be taken down was the Subhan Allah Mosque. That's the information that's coming in. Bahawalpur is the headquarters of Jaish-e-Mohammed. This is where Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists were trained to launch attacks into India, including the Pulwama attack of 2019. We are told several Jaish commanders associated with operations in Afghanistan were used to visit this Markaz for terror training, meetings and planning.
More details that we've been able to gather in this We Get to India Today exclusive. Markaz-e-Subhanallah is the Bahawalpur mosque that was taken down. This is all that remains. So the picture that you see on one side of your television screen is what that Markaz Subhanallah or that mosque Subhanallah look like. And the image on the right is a precision strike that took place at that location. So Markaz-e-Subhanallah is situated along the Karachi-Torkham highway in Pakistan. It's right on the outskirts of Bahawalpur in the southern part of Pakistan's Punjab province. As the crow flies from the Indian border, it's about 180 kilometers, less than 200 kilometers. It's a 15-acre facility functioning as the main training and indoctrination center of Jaish-e-Mohammed. Now, this strike is very, very significant because this is where Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists planned. For example, like we just told you, the Pulwama terror attack of February 14, 2019, the perpetrators were trained here. Leadership of top Jaish-e-Mohammed modules are present here. Residences of Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists are there, including the Maulana of Terror, Masood Azhar. He's apparently currently in protective custody either in Islamabad or in Rawalpindi, but the de facto chief of Jaish-e-Mohammed, Mufti Abdul Rauf Asgar, he's also handling operations control. He was also living here. Yusuf Azhar, also known as Ustad Gauri, he was also living here. Gauri, he's the head of the armed wing. We are also told that several other relatives of that Maulana of Terror, Masood Azhar, including Maulana Ammar and Talha Saif, were living here. But it's not just about the terror commanders who were living here. What is extremely significant is the fact that you had at least 600 terrorists undergoing training at this terror main training camp of Jaish-e-Mohammed at Bahawalpur. What was the training like? Information that India Today has been able to gather, and not just overnight, but over several years. The training included arms training, physical fitness training, religious indoctrination. Maulana Rafiqullah, for example, is one of the chief instructors who radicalizes youth to train them as Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists to launch attacks into India. The training includes archery, swimming, diving, horseback riding for physical fitness. The infrastructure, we are told, and this is information that we have from way back in 2018, even before the Pulwama attack of 2019, they have a gymnasium, they have a swimming pool. Apparently, they also have the Al-Hajima Center, which is a therapy center. They have stables and riding grounds here. Funding sources, apart from Pakistan Army and ISI funding them directly, there are Pakistani provincial and federal authorities that have been training them. They've been able to get overseas funds. Their recent activities of terror, on the 30th of November 2024, Masood Azhar made a public address at this Markaz after a 2-year gap. Massive anti-India rhetoric you heard, including revenge for the construction of the Sri Ram temple and the demolition of the Babri structure. Events that were attended by senior Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists, including his brother Talha Saif and son Abdullah Masood. So despite international pressure, Jaish-e-Mohammed continued to operate. Pakistan government took no action against it. And government of India, in a statement very clearly has said, Pakistan had a fortnight to act against Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed, but when they didn't, because of that continuous threat that India receives from these places, India had to target these terrorist training camps and launch pads. I once again want to quickly bring in Mir Farid into this conversation, and India Today's biggest team of reporters join us on our special broadcast and continuing coverage. We've been live. 1:44 is when India struck multiple targets in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, and we've been live throughout the night and get you more updates. Mir, the situation in Jammu and Kashmir, especially along the LC, as far as the situation south of Pir Panjal is concerned, but also the threats that come from Pakistan of retaliatory strikes. What more can you tell us about India's preparations?
Well, Gaurav, India is prepared because they expected. Now, obviously, there could be escalation. This is historic in many ways, unprecedented, where simultaneously 8 to 9 locations, which were the heart of Jaish operations in POK, have been hit. Pakistan, be it DGISPR and other people who are coming on the media are claiming that they will hit back, they will retaliate. So obviously all army formations, Air Force bases are on the highest alert. Right now I'm in Pampur. There have been also reports of some fighter jets or UAVs being brought down, or they have crashed at 3 locations in Jammu and Kashmir. One where I am, Pampur, this area has been secured. But to your question, line of control is hot right now. Very heavy artillery shelling all along the line of control. We've got reports from Tangdar, which has faced major damage. Even Tangdar market has been smashed by artillery shelling. At least 3 people have been killed in this shelling. Many are injured. Civil targets have been hit. On the other hand, if you talk of international border, that also I can tell you is silent. Jammu international border all along, the BSF is deployed. There have been no incident of firing. It is tense, but it is silent. But the line of control areas all along be it any sector, is witnessing very heavy shelling right now. So as far as these incidents, the fighter jets that have crashed, we'll wait for official confirmation on the same. Right now, search operation has been launched to track down the pilot who's missing, but debris is being collected, and Air Force and all belt forces are here, and area has been completely sealed.
Dharamjot, who's there with me in the newsroom. We've been tracking the developments, Dharam, and as what Idris has just shared with us, that major shelling is taking place across the LOC. This is no longer small arms fire. The shelling has been taking place since a number of hours now. This seems to be the first response that Pakistan has had to Operation Sindoor, and it is much different than the rhetoric they had back in 2019 when the Balakot airstrikes took place, where they said nothing really happened. Clearly, this time their reaction has already come in the form of shelling, which is taking place. This is the 13th night. Till now, they said small arms fire was taking place, but now we're seeing major shelling taking place, and even civilians have been injured in the Poonch district in the valley.
Well, you're absolutely right, Shivan. It's an escalation, the likes of which we haven't seen in a long time between India and Pakistan. Now, having said that, this, as you rightly mentioned, this is clearly a reaction coming from the Pakistani side, because the Indian armed forces have done some damage, and they've done some damage to the terror infrastructure that India's neighbor has been harboring for years now. If I could just quickly go into a few details, Shivan, we have these locations of the 9 terror sites that the Indian armed forces struck a couple of hours ago. Bahawalpur, as we've been talking about, and Murdike also, as we've been talking about. In Murdike, Gulpur, there's the LET camp in Savai. There's the Bilal camp, which is a Jaish-e-Mohammed launch pad that has been known to the Indian armed forces for a while now. There's the LET camp in Kotli. There's the Barnala camp, which is just 10 kilometers from the LOC in the Pakistani side. There's the Sarjal camp, which is again a Jaish-e-Mohammed camp. And there's the Mahmoona camp, which is 15 kilometers from the international border, somewhere near Sialkot in Pakistan. So these are the sites that the Indian Armed Forces struck between 1:30 a.m. to 2 a.m. Just a few short hours ago, Shivan, and after which they announced that these 9 sites have been struck. Now, it is expected that the Indian Armed Forces will put out a more detailed statement and share more information during the press conference later this evening. But clearly, a lot has already developed on the ground, Shivan. As we've been hearing from Idris, the border has been active for the past 13, 14 days. It's escalated even more just moments after India's precision strike on the terror camps in parts of mainland Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir as well. So how this is going to pan out in the next few hours during the course of the day, we'll have to watch very closely, because the Pakistani side is expected to react. This is something that the Indian Armed Forces were prepared for, and they knew this is going to happen, which is why we've been talking about, again and again, Shivan, that video that the Indian Army posted, the timing of which has really captured the attention. Before they announced the strike that happened, the terror camps that they struck, just minutes before that, they posted a video of their readiness to win and to go to battle. So clearly the Indian Armed Forces are ready. We know from sources that have been talking to ANI saying that this is clearly a tri-service operation that has been carried out. The Indian Air Force, the Indian Navy, and the Indian Army are equally involved in carrying out this precision strike on terror camps on the other side of the LOC and the border. So how all these 3 forces now respond going forward, we are expecting a flurry of meetings. We are expecting statements. We are expecting more information later in the course of the day. But the situation as far as the valley is concerned, as far as the LOC and the international border between India and Pakistan is concerned, is definitely, it's escalated at the moment. The forces are alert. As I was telling you before, civilians have been asked to be prepared for any and all circumstances. The forces on the ground in border areas of Rajasthan, Punjab, of Jammu and Kashmir, they have been preparing the border villages for any sort of situation that may arise in case there's an escalation, in case there's any unprovoked firing from the Pakistani side. So we are going to expect more details and more developments on this front later in the day. But the Indian Armed Forces clearly on the ground, ready for any and all kind of situations, no matter how this plays out from the Pakistani side, Shivam.
Thanks, Dharam. I'll, of course, come back to you as the developments continue to pour in. I'll now cut across to Idris, who's there in Srinagar. Idris, Srinagar is now waking up, and you've been reporting since the wee hours of the night. We've all been up tracking minute-by-minute developments coming in as Operation Sindoor has been carried out by the Indian Armed Forces. What's the mood and the temperature like around you? Anything that you're picking up from those people who are around you? How is Srinagar waking up to the news of what is happening and of what has already happened, Operation Sindoor, and what is taking place at the LOC with the shelling taking place and even civilians getting injured?
Well, yes, Shivan, if we talk about the population in Kashmir, as I told you earlier also that we did at least from 1 a.m. to 2, there were jets moving out in the air, hovering around all over Srinagar and the Kashmir division. And that's how the whole population seemed to be up already because of the noise of the jets that was all going on for at least 45 minutes. After that, we've seen that a lot of people who are waking up now are definitely shocked because we did see some of the helicopter movements yet again in the sky in Srinagar at the moment. But what we are hearing from the line of control, from especially areas which are very close to the line of control in Kupwara as well as in Handwara and Baramulla, there has been some massive firing from the opposite side, from the Pak Army, which is also which is not only targeting basically the Indian Armed Forces or the bunkers placed on the forward post, but also the civilian population. We just got a news from the Kupwara that one of the civilian houses is also caught fire due to the due to the shelling that has been done by the Pakistani army from the other side. We've seen not at one place but multiple locations ceasefire violation has taken place yet again today in the northern part of Kashmir as well as in the Jammu division. There have been some injuries reported from the Jammu division as well due to the shelling from the Pakistan army. Let me tell you that at every place wherever there has been ceasefire violation, it's been retaliated by the Indian armed forces on the line of control. But since Pakistan now is not only targeting the Indian armed forces, their bunkers, but also the civilian population, that is seemingly a bit of a worry for the locals who are living very close to the bordering areas. A lot of people living close to the forward post have been moved from there, have been asked to go either into the bunkers or take shelter at safer places. The Indian Army has already moved into action. One, they are giving a befitting reply to the Pakistan Army at the line of control. On the other hand, they are also busy in evacuating the people who live close to these areas. As I said, the civilian population now under attack from the Pakistani Army, and it seems to be their first response to the targeted attacks that were carried out by the Indian Armed Forces on the 9 locations of the terrorist camps.
Idris, as you correctly mentioned, the civilian population in India is now under attack by the Pakistani army as shelling is taking place, and they are now targeting civilians here on the Indian side of the border as well in the Poonch district. Idris, you mentioned that you even saw a helicopter going past you as a little earlier. If you can elaborate a little more, anything that you observed, did it seem like a military chopper? Did it seem like a civilian chopper? Was it more of a rescue chopper? Anything that you picked up from what you saw as you saw the chopper going past you?
Well, Shivan, as the authorities have already announced that the Srinagar airport will be closed for the commercial flights, whereas we've also heard Jammu, Leh, Dharamshala, and some of the airports in North India have been completely shut for at least 24 hours for any commercial flight. So at the moment, whatever we see in the sky, whether they are jets or the helicopters that are moving, they are definitely of the Indian Armed Forces. We've seen from 1 a.m. to 2 a.m., there were jets moving on. There was extreme noise of the jets that basically was one of the reasons that people across the valley were awake because of the noise that they heard due to these jets. After that, there has been complete lull. We've not heard any of the movement, especially aerial movement, in the last many hours. But just a while, just 5 minutes ago, we did see some helicopter movement yet again in the air. On the other hand, what we are hearing from the line of control is that the civilian population is under attack, and it could be a rescue operation for that, maybe to carry out the civilian population from these forward post areas, which could be under attack from the Pakistan Army. And it seems Pakistan Army's first reaction is not only to attack the military post on the forward post, but also the civilian population that lives close to the line of control and international border. And that is definitely going to be a worry, and people definitely need to be moved away from those areas before any damage is done. We've heard that at least 3 people, one of them very critical, a woman very critical, being treated at the hospital in Poonch, while as 2 others are also injured. They've been shifted to the hospital for treatment. So people who are living on the line of control, especially with the first light now here, they will be asked to move out from those places.
बहुत थैंक यू कहती हूँ कि उन्होंने मेरे पति की मौत का बदला लिया है।
All right, let's go back to the moment when those strikes happened, and Arnab Goswami was there in the newsroom in the studio for you. Look at the broadcast of that moment to understand how it all panned out. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is a very, very big breaking news day. Good morning to everyone across the country. We've hit back. Ladies and gentlemen, the big breaking news story of the moment. If you can hear me tonight, can I be put on? Thank you so much. Thank you, Aditi. All right, because I want to recap exactly what is happening as of tonight, as of this minute, 33 minutes past 2 a.m. on the 7th of May. History has been made. This is a very direct and straightforward attack by the Indian Army we are reporting tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, Pakistan has been hit. Muzaffarabad has been hit. A total of 9 places in Pakistan have been hit. And the government has said very clearly that we are focused, we are measured. What we are doing is non-escalatory in nature. They've said that no military targets of Pakistan have been targeted. They've also said that we have demonstrated considerable restraint, and we have demonstrated considerable restraint in the selection of the targets and the method of execution. These steps come in the wake of the barbaric Pahalgam attack, in which 25 Indians and 1 Nepali citizens were targeted and murdered. We are living up to the commitment that those responsible for this attack will be held accountable. And there was going to be a very detailed briefing on Operation Sindoor later today. This is the PR that I got from the Ministry of Defense. Huge visual coming in right now. Just see the extent of the devastation in Pakistan tonight. Just see that go through. This is a huge strike, ladies and gentlemen. Just see that visual, the level of devastation. The first visuals brought to you here only on Republic, and all the Pakistanis watching in shock and horror as India begins a mammoth strike. Now you're seeing the kind of armory and ammunition being used here. What does this look like to you? General Kochar, you've been with the ordnance. I want to show you this visual. General Kochar, are you there? Are you seeing this visual with you, sir? You see the nature of the visual, the nature of the explosion. What does it look like to you, sir?
My assessment is, Arnab, from what I can see on your screen.
Yes, sir.
This is a combination of a drone and a missile strike.
A mix of drone and missile?
Yeah. Because I don't.
One second, sir. Can the drones go so deep? I also want you to expect General Bakshi, how deep did we go? General Bakshi, how deep have we gone when we go to Bahawalpur, when we go to Muridke? How deep have we gone into that territory?
Muridke and Bahawalpur, Muzaffarabad, Kotli, all these have been hit. Targets deep into Pakistan have been hit. Pakistan main, not just POK. So to that extent, I would extend, in all probability, it is the BrahMos cruise missiles, which have a range of 400 kilometers plus. I was telling you the circular error of probability is 1 meter, and the warhead that it carries is hundreds of kilos.
Ladies and gentlemen, the big point is the entire air defense capability of Pakistan has been totally exposed. Live visuals coming in. Live visuals. Ladies and gentlemen, latest visuals. You're watching this. Let's listen to this. Ladies and gentlemen, these are latest visuals of Operation Sindoor. Ladies and gentlemen, second missile goes in the air. The third set of visuals, third set of missiles going into the air. The first live pictures of Operation Sindoor, ladies and gentlemen. You will remember this moment because you're seeing the firing straight
on only the Republic Media Network. Ladies and gentlemen, only the Republic Media Network has brought you these visuals, these balls of flame. Let me show it full frame, please. Don't miss the moment. Do not go to the 6th window, for God's sake. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I will play the visuals so you can watch and listen. The dramatic footage of the firing. Ladies and gentlemen, these are live shots of the firing. These pictures will be ingested. We'll play it once again. These are the visuals of Operation Sindoor being launched. We have seen 3 sets of what appear to be missiles, but I'm going to ask the military experts to deconstruct this. General Bakshi is looking very closely at it. It's like a ball of fire which goes deep into the air, and then we lose track of its luminosity. What are we seeing here? We'll circle those visuals. These visuals that you're seeing are probably, the orb that goes right behind the missile. This is the aftermath. We are seeing some incredible visuals on the Republic Media Network tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, the Pakistani threat is empty. The Pakistan are an incapable people. They have got an incompetent army. We are beginning to avenge them. Now, General Bakshi, what have we just seen? What have we just seen?
Arnab, if you recall, going by military history precedents, Iran fired a barrage of missiles on Pakistan in the wake of that incident when the Baluchi Sunni insurgents had hit them. Right? And Pakistan's Chinese radars had totally failed. Pakistan had complained bitterly to China that your radars failed to detect the incoming missiles. They have still
Pakistan has declared an emergency. Keep the breaking news ticker on, for God's sake. Pakistan has declared a state of national emergency. The latest updates I'm also getting tonight is that residents in the area of Jhulas have moved into bunker amidst constant firing from the Pakistani side. There is heavy shelling on the borders of Kupwara district, which are continuing. I'm going to get our reporters up who are in the area. Ladies and gentlemen, look at this. This is the Pakistani army. They just don't know what has happened. They've been completely destroyed, taken aback. They were protecting the Lashkar headquarters and now they're reduced to rubble. They were protecting the Jaish headquarters. They've been reduced to rubble. There is absolutely nothing left on the location. The Pakistani army are looking for bodies of the terrorists and trying to retrieve. We're told several terrorists have been killed. They are looking to retrieve the bodies of the terrorists, which also shows their complicity. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not sure which missiles have been used here, but I can tell you this has been extremely effective this time. Very, very strongly effective. One set of visuals, I'm not sure of the location, but this is probably of the firing. We play this again. Live firing. This is the firing that happened. Ladies and gentlemen, in the still of the night, the firing is happening. In the still of the night, you will hear the firing now. Ladies and gentlemen, now we just heard something. These are live visuals I'm told that we are getting right now. Live news agency feed coming in, and another news agency feed coming in of the devastation on the right. Can we go to the international news agency feed? Multiple crew are reaching the ground, but across the world right now, this is the network to watch. It's only and only Republic. Secretary of State in the United States, Mr. Rubio, has spoken to National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. Everything's very good and totally under control. The Pakistanis are taken aback. They have a weapons problem, they have a tanks problem, they have an artillery inventory problem, there is panic in the army, and we are told there are calls going back and forth, ladies and gentlemen, after these precision strikes that have happened at the terror camps. Shawan, this situation is building fast, very, very fast. Is the army talking much right now? They're waiting. We have the first, ladies and gentlemen, the first reaction of China on Pakistan, on India's strike, counter-strike. And they played the Pakistan card predictably. The first reaction of the Chinese Foreign Ministry, Shawan, regrets India's strikes on Pakistan. Unexpected lines, Abhishek.
Absolutely.
Regretting India's strikes. So they've obviously taken Pakistan side.
Absolutely unexpected lines. It's a shame that the Chinese are doing this. They are saying that they are concerned about escalation, possible escalation, and they regret India having taken this action against Pakistan. Remember, we have only hit the terror infrastructure of Pakistan. We have not hit any civilian targets. We have not hit any military target also, because we know that we don't want escalation, and the world should see the message in this, and the Chinese refusing to do that. Their first reaction, expressing regret at India's military strikes.
Okay, we have a two window right now. We have a Ministry of External Affairs press conference that is expected very, very soon. There's some movement at the press conference venue. I'd like to go to those pictures, ladies and gentlemen. There's a movement at the press conference venue. They're seating. The seating is being fixed. Who's going to sit where? The preliminary round of officials has come. This is a big news briefing that we are waiting for on Operation Sindoor. Ladies and gentlemen, Operation Sindoor, which is a result of a series of steps that we've been taking. 10 o'clock is the press conference. People are asking, what do we expect of the press conference? Well, I think we will be explaining our strategic posture. We'll talk about how we finalize the operation. We'll talk about the successes of the operation. Probably any high-value targets that we've struck. We'll give details of that. And then we'll also give a detail of the diplomatic and non-military steps that we've been taking since the 22nd of April. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a huge press briefing. All eyes are on that press briefing of the Ministry of External Affairs, and you're with me here on Republic. In fact, you've been with me since about 2 o'clock this morning. Now, this is fantastic, Abhishek. We have to look at the situation. I'd like to go across to some of our reporters waiting for that press conference. Zeenath, your location, please. Let's line up all our reporters. First to Zeenath. Ladies and gentlemen, Sensex is down by about 400 plus points tonight. But of course, Sensex is sentimental. It'll go up. This is just nervousness. In the Sensex, 0.12% means nothing. I'm just giving you this information as trivia tonight. I don't take the Sensex seriously. Zeenath. Now, from your defense source,
yes, I'm reporting
what
from
is the situation around LOC and IB overall?
See, I'm reporting from the Uri sector of North Kashmir's Baramulla, and as far as the situation on ground is concerned, we see the borders they have felt silent for some time. We don't see any movement or not hearing even the shelling or anything, but there is a process that is taking place, that is of the evacuation. The evacuation is taking place for the safety of the border residents, and there has been a directions that all those who are living close to line of control, these border belt residents should be shifted to safer locations, and government is ensuring the boarding, lodging and the food and the Medicare and the transportation of all those individuals who are living close to line of control. As far as the border shelling is concerned, Pakistan Army has been resorting to unprovoked violation and was targeting the Uri, Karna and Tangdar sector of North Kashmir, where some damage has been done to the residential houses, and also few of the people have suffered injuries. They all were evacuated and were given medical aid first at a place, and they were later shifted to the medical facility where they are being treated by the doctors. As of now in Srinagar, we see the divisional administration has asked for the closure of the schools of the two districts. In fact, movement is not being allowed close to Srinagar airport because it has been taken over by the Indian Air Force and all other
I'm going back to the press conference venue. I'd like to go to it full frame. I've been told our reporter Gopi is already at the press conference venue. In case she is, if Gopi, you're hearing me there you are, Gopi, one of the first reporters live from the press conference venue. This is a huge opportunity for you, one of the biggest press conferences. You're going to probably remember this all through your rest of your reporting career, journalistic career. Gopi, now tell me what's happening around you. Who's at the stakeout? How many reporters there? Who's expected there? Take us through the works there. Gopi.
Well, in fact, I would ask my camera person to kindly show you the visuals. The stage is all set for the press conference. It is rather not an interactive press conference, what we are learning from our sources. It is a joint press conference which would be held by the Ministry of Defense as well as the Ministry of External Affairs. What we are also learning from our sources is the MEA spokesperson Randhir Jaiswal is going to be here along with the Army and Air Force Chief. These are the preliminary information which we are sharing with our viewers. While there are heavy media personnel here, as this is a very important press conference. All eyes at 10 a.m. We will have to see what kind of statement is released by the Ministry of Defense for Operation Sindoor. Back to you.
Okay, we've just been told here that due to unavoidable circumstances, the press conference stands delayed by about 30 minutes. The brief will commence at 10:30 a.m. Inconvenience is regretted. This flash has just come in. Shawan.
Fight the reason why there is a bit of a delay. I'm given to understand that there is a preliminary report that is essentially being prepared, and also the aim is to bust the Pakistani narrative, because remember what has happened in the last few hours is this. On the fact that they're basically peddling fake news, particularly with certain fighter jets of ours being down, which is absolutely incorrect. And that is the reason why perhaps a little bit of more time is now being taken by the forces to put together the statement to tackle not just what's really happened in the last few hours, and also a little bit more development taking place with regards to the assessment of damage that has taken place. Because the latest being that at least seven locations which were targeted by the Indian army, there they've got the maximum number of terrorists who have been killed. 7 is what we're being told from the 7 camps that have been completely demolished. 2 which has been done by the Air Force, that's Bahawalpur. They're getting in more details right now in terms of the number of terrorists who have been killed in Bahawalpur. That details are yet to come in.
Okay, I don't need. Now, Rakshita is live and through to us from the Srinagar airport to give us a factual report of the airport, which has now been closed down for civilian aircraft. It's only going to be used for military reasons. Rakshita, over to you from Srinagar airport, please.
Well, Arnav, we are right now. We cannot obviously show the much of the security personnel positions, as we've not been allowed to do that. But yes, this is the airport, and here no civilian air traffic is allowed. All the flights have been cancelled, and they have been requested to please contact the airlines for their rescheduling for today, at least until further notice. No civilian air traffic will be allowed. Also, of course, we see that there is minimal movement. We only see more of the security personnel that are here, and we do see their vehicles coming in and out. There is an absolute lull over here as we speak. There is no flight hovering up. And yes, as we were talking about also the press conference, the Indian Army and the MOD will be holding that press conference. Very importantly, the message will be sent out to Pakistan, to the terror groups as well. And there will be a briefing about the tactical and strategic objectives of this precision strike, assessment of damage inflicted on the terror camps and the terror infrastructure, and the clarification on the civilian impact will also be done. So this is the latest update we have. The future plan of action, of course, this cannot be revealed. The strategy will not be, of course, revealed, but the posture could be somewhere, outlined in this very important press briefing that everybody has their eyes on. We understand that it could have the CDS or the IAF Chief of Air Staff, but yes, senior officials will be there, senior officers will be there, and this press conference will be very important. Everybody who has, who has been seeing those tears of the victims, the families, those Indians who have been bleeding, the sindoor that has been wiped off the, the heads of the women. Everybody will be now watching that, press conference and understanding how India has avenged those innocent killings or not. And we are quite eagerly waiting for what is going to happen next, as we were discussing with the defense experts. Over to you.
what we'd like to do at this stage is to actually look at some of the weapon systems which were likely used and also play out footage of the strikes taking place. Now, there's been a lot of footage which has come in. The footage which we are now showing on our screens is credible footage. You can see some of the explosions which have been taking place. This footage actually changes to other areas. You can see in the distance an explosion taking place. These are all Indian strikes going in. The weapon systems which have been used. The explosions over here, very, very significant. Remember, during 2019, there was no footage which emerged of India's strikes on Balakot. This time around, there is multiple footage which has taken place. Among the weapon systems believed to have been used, the Scalp, which is a long-range air-launched cruise missile. It's got a range of upwards of 200 kilometers. The target in Bahawalpur, chances are, may have been hit by a weapon such as the Scalp, since it lies approximately 150 kilometers west of Rajasthan, Punjab. And that's right, and this is a point that we need to keep mentioning. India has struck targets 100 to 150 kilometers deep inside Pakistan, not just in Jammu and Kashmir, but in the case of Bahawalpur, opposite the Rajasthan-Punjab frontier, as it were. Let's move to some of the other weapon systems which India had likely used. Let's move away from the Scalp, which is capable of low-altitude stealthy flight. It's been used, a variant of that, extensively in the Ukraine war as well. Very successfully, I should add. This is the Hammer, which is a smart bomb. It's got a very sophisticated guidance package. There can be a man in the loop. In other words, there can be an operator to actually fly the missile in shortly there before it strikes its target to take control and hit the target that you want. It hits targets by day and night, any weather conditions. Again, both the Scalp and the Hammer are important because these are weapon systems that ensure that the collateral damage is minimized. You want accurate strikes, and all the strikes that went in over there, as we understand it, have been successful and they have been accurate. India also used loitering munitions. This would be the first time, as I understand it, that loitering munitions were used by India in a military strike that went across. These likely have far shorter ranges, approximately 20 to 30 odd kilometers, perhaps a little bit more, may well have been used in the targets across the line of control in the north of Kashmir. These are semi-intelligent systems. They move around an area, they pick a target, either they're guided to the target or they are able to discern the significance of a target based on their onboard processing systems and their own library of targets to pick from. And then they go and they hit a target. These are suicide drones. We've seen variants of this being used also extensively, as I mentioned, in the war in Russia and Ukraine. Now, as a result of all of this, what has taken place is massive Pakistani strikes, indiscriminate, across the international border and the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir. India has responded. India has hit targets in Pakistan very, very hard. That's something that's been confirmed. But it has also been confirmed to us that there have been at least 3 civilians who've been killed in Jammu and Kashmir. But let's just reflect on the footage that you see on your screen so far is footage of the Indian strikes. Some of the footage is of the Indian strikes going in. These are strikes in Pakistan or in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, which of course is India. But these are the strikes which have gone in over there very accurately. Various weapon systems, massive explosions which have been taking place. So that gives you an idea of what's been happening in terms of some of the weapon systems which have been used and video of the explosions over the last several hours.
And Shivadur is continuing to be with us. Shiv, I'm coming to you in terms of the fact that you have been putting out of a joint operation of the 3 services, all working in complete coordination. And, there was regular briefing that they had with the Prime Minister, regular discussion with Air Chief Marshal AP Singh meeting the Prime Minister only 2 days ago. There was that meeting which also was held between the Prime Minister and Defense Secretary. Of course, there was an indication and the Prime Minister himself giving a complete charge to the defense forces to decide the operation and how it will be executed. Prime Minister Modi himself has been monitoring it. That's what sources in the Prime Minister's office are telling us. When we talk about the 3 services working in coordination, what does it actually mean? Because that's different from what we saw play out post-Uri and post-Pulwama.
Maria, you track the Prime Minister's office, so you know this better than most people. that the Prime Minister may have given the armed forces the operational freedom to decide on these targets and go after them in the way that it has panned out today as part of Operation Sindoor. But like you also rightly reported, not only does the Prime Minister monitor every single aspect of it, it's not like he just gave an instruction to the armed forces saying, go ahead and do whatever you want, and you have the freedom to do it. Obviously, the Cabinet Committee on Security, the meetings with the chiefs, with Air Chief Marshal A.P. Singh, Admiral D.K. Tripathi of the Navy, the three service chiefs together before that, all meant that these plans were very, very focused, very, very specific, signed off on at the highest levels of the government and the executive. And it was then that the armed forces, got the latitude and the political alignment to pursue the execution of what has now become what we know as Operation Sindoor. Let's be very clear about that. The armed forces offered many different options to the Prime Minister, to the National Security Advisor, the leadership, and after a series of meetings that actually happened. Right now, as we report on this unfolding story, it is quite certain that there are active war rooms in different locations. We will not speculate on who will be in those war rooms, but operational details not reported on NDTV, but in these war rooms, our military commanders, including possibly our chiefs, have a live and real-time view of this unfolding military picture that's taking place in the air, on the ground, and at sea. Another piece of breaking information I'm going to bring in before I put it into our system, Maria, is that extensive damage has been reported on the Pakistan side. My army sources are telling us that extensive damage to Pakistan army posts and infrastructure on the Pakistan side of Rajouri, Poonch, as well as Kupwara. These two sectors, possible casualties, but huge damage confirmed to Pakistan army posts in both these areas. We'll be getting images of that shortly.
Cool figure. Follow me.